Are recording. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Greg Justice with AYC Health and Fitness, and I am here today talking with Dr. Fab Mancini, and we are going to be talking about the legacy of Jack LaLanne. But let me give you a brief introduction of Dr. Fab. He is a best-selling author of Chicken Soup for the Chiropractic Soul. He's an international acclaimed educator. He's a business leader, a speaker, and he is the president emeritus of Parker University. And he's also been featured on Dr. Phil, The Doctors, Fox News, CNN, CBS, ABC, NBC, Univision, and Telemundo, along with many others. And he was also inducted in 2002 into the Wellness Revolutionaries Hall of Fame. So thank you, Dr. Fab, for being with me today.
My pleasure. This is an honor.
Well, thank you again. We're going to talk about the legacy of Jack LaLanne, and I'm going to start by asking you about your first encounter, the first time you met Jack LaLanne, and how that impacted you.
Well, you know, I've been a big fan of Jack LaLanne. I moved to the United States when I was 13 years old in 1978. And of course, Jack LaLanne in the United States was a big influence. We had heard of him in Colombia, South America, but it wasn't until I started watching some of those reruns of his show. And also understanding that since I was wanting to go into the world of health and fitness, the world of prevention, the world of the idea of individuals taking responsibility for their health, Jack LaLanne's name kept coming up. So the first time that I physically met him, I was president of Parker University, and I had reached out to him to see if he would like to be my keynote speaker for an event that I was having in Dallas, Texas, with about 5,000 people, primarily doctors of chiropractic and chiropractic assistants. And I was so delighted when him and Lala called me back, and they said that they had heard about me and they would love to support. And I still remember when I first met him, his energy on stage, his ability to convey his message, not through words, but through actions. His body language was so powerful that you can feel that he lived what he was really encouraging all of us to do. So for me, that was a very powerful experience. And then I remember backstage that we were kind of sharing some words and getting to know each other. And one of the things that I know made a big difference to me was the fact that he was encouraging me to live to be over 100 years old, to recognize that the choices that I was making right now will dictate whether that is even a possibility or not. That what made a difference in his life every single day was the fact that he lived this message. He actually was able to create a lifestyle, even though he was very busy, to push himself to beyond the boundaries that most of us as human beings have thought were possible. And that began my journey to truly, as a health and wellness expert in the world, not only inspire others out there to be healthy, but to be primarily the messenger through my life, through my behavior, and hopefully one day celebrate to be 100 years old or more.
That's great. That's terrific. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you this. What do you feel like Jack's legacy is?
Well, you know, when I think of Jack's legacy and I looked at his history, I can tell you that for me, he will be remembered as the father of wellness. I know many people consider fitness as his main accomplishment and contribution, but I truly feel that in the early days when Jack began to promote the lifestyle of health and wellness, it was more than just fitness. He was trying to educate people into lifestyle choices, not only nutrition, but also not smoking. And in those days, as you know, it was very prevalent that most people, especially celebrities and influencers, were big smokers. So here's a man that really took a position that was not conventional. Here's an individual that really saw the potential on individuals. So I really believe that his legacy will be the father of wellness and somebody that truly encourages us to truly achieve our human potential.
Right.
Because it is through those lifestyle choices that honestly we're able to achieve a full life. And I don't mean just physically, but also emotionally, spiritually, professionally, socially, religiously, in any aspect of our life. And I believe that that will definitely years from now.
Yeah, and I love the way you put that, the not just the physical, but the emotional. And a lot of people don't realize what a mindset expert Jack was as well, and the positive attitude. And of course, we both know that that is also prevalent with Elaine, and the mindset and the positivity is just so amazing in both of them. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And let me ask,
one of the stories that I will share with you.
please, yes.
When he came to Dallas to do this event, I was honored to throw his 94th birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And we filled up the auditorium with 5,000 people. And then I had the Dallas Mavericks, our basketball team, cheerleaders, bring out a cake for him on stage to celebrate it.
Mm-hmm.
But what was really interesting is that before that, I was able to take him to NBC to do an interview. Since he was in town, they wanted to kind of share a little bit about what's it like to turn 94 years old and what words of wisdom. And I'll never forget this. We walked into the studio and they were prepping for him. And I remember the host sitting down and already getting mic. And Jack was asked by the producer to come into the set so he can sit down and get mic'd. And I remember Jack walking very slow, like if he was 100 years old, very slow. And all of a sudden they sat him down and I could see the look on the announcer's face like, oh my God, he's older, he's aging, I mean, 94. And then they mic'd him up. And then as soon as the interview goes on, then she asked him a question. And then he just all of a sudden goes from this crippled position to like, I'm so glad you asked me that. Oh my God, everybody blew her away. She didn't know what to do. And I can only imagine the hundreds of thousands of people watching the news that day, watching that. And what a testament that he wanted to kind of show them that the typical image of a 94-year-old in the United States and around the world is somebody that's crippled, somebody that doesn't have any energy, somebody that is all wrinkled and doesn't have a lot of vibrancy around them. But when he came into his being, whether it was on the show or whether it was on the stage later that day, he made us, you know, in our 20s and 30s feel like we were just getting started. And that's one of the things that I would always thank him for, because I'm about to be 54. So imagine 40 years that I still have to go to get to that stage. Yes. But I feel like I'm getting younger and younger every day because I live the principles and the behaviors that he taught us for so many years.
Exactly. You know, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because I'll share with you a story of Elaine in that same kind of vein. When she was inducted into the National Fitness Hall of Fame, she was 92 years old, 2 or 3 years ago. And after her speech, she kicked her shoes off, stepped to the side of the podium and jumped off the stage. And everybody in the audience with a collective gasp of, and she landed like a 14-year-old, dropped to the floor and did 15 push-ups. And it's along those same lines. Everyone kind of has that image of what a 90-plus-year-old person should be or is, and they just blow that thinking out of the water. So that's a great story. That's terrific. Let me ask you one more question. If you were to just sum up Jack LaLanne in 3 words, what would those 3 words be?
Loving, persistent, innovator.
Innovator. I think that pretty much.
As a loving person, I can tell you that, he really captured what I call unconditional love, where he saw in us our potential, and he kept wanting to remind us of that was throughout his life, no matter what limitations others put on him. He always kept pushing the boundaries and keep achieving things that most people had never done. Persistent because he never gave up on his mission. Throughout his life, he kept his mission very clear and impacted millions of people around the world because of his persistence. Because sometimes in life, it tries to distract you and get you off course, and he maintained his course until the last day of his life. And I would say innovator, primarily because he came at a time in which health and wellness was not popular. And he not only looked beautiful, but he was able to get creative in the way that he messaged us and the viewers and the audience and all the people that follow him in a way that it was practical, it was simple to implement, did not make it complicated, but kept reminding us that if we did those little things that he was suggesting, we were going to have a much better lifestyle. And especially as we got older, we were going to be very thankful that we did those behaviors that he was teaching us at the time.
Exactly. Like his quote talks about, the more you put into the bank of health and fitness, the more you can take out later in life. Yeah, that is terrific. And I think that pretty much sums up the life of Jack LaLanne.